something much more pressing and important, Nadia's cake.
Didn't it look wonderful? It looked absolutely fantastic. So obviously the Queen looked thrilled by the cake. I was keeping up with Nadia on Twitter when she was saying she was making the different layers, and it was very interesting. She said she was given no specification for what to make at all, so she had complete free reign. So she decided on orange, I think, was what she thought would be the best flavour, but it did look great.
OK, but with those people who feel we're talking about the cake because unless we have nothing else to talk about, actually we've got a lot to talk about. I mean, Rihanna Mills, though, was talking about the A word, abdication. We look at Spain, look at the Netherlands, look at Beatrix, look at Queen Sophia, and we see monarchs who've taken that decision. You could even look across to the Vatican and see a pope who's abdicated because age wearies them and they realise actually the institution they're served might be better served by standing aside and let somebody younger take over. Our Queen's not going to do that, is she?
No, she will, of course, never do this. For her, abdication is simply, it's a throwback to what happened. Her uncle abdicated, Edward VIII abdicated to marry Wallis Simpson, and to her that was an act of weakness. It threw her father into a position he didn't expect. It was very difficult for him. And most of all, she sees the role as Queen as not a secular role, like so many of those other monarchs you were talking about. It's a role given to her by God, and only God can take it away.
Okay, listen, this is how they used to do the news. Let's have a listen.
Has been a great day to be here in Windsor as we have celebrated our Queen's 90th birthday. But the fun doesn't end yet. This afternoon at 2:30 p.m, the firing of the annual 21-gun salute on the Long Walk will be led by the Worshipful, the Mayor of the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead. Later, as dusk falls, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, accompanied by the Duke of Edinburgh, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, will join us all at the Cambridge Gate for the lighting of the first of 1,000 birthday beacons, which will light brightly right across the country. Today is, above all, a birthday celebration, and so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, enjoy yourselves here in Royal Windsor, and God save the Queen!
Well, that's how you used to get the news. Windsor's town crier there, getting a cheer from the crowds who've gathered and in many instances been there for many hours, who've caught a glimpse of the Queen, who is still meeting members of the public, we understand. Kate Williams, the historian's alongside me now. We were talking about the likelihood or otherwise of an abdication at some point in the future, and you were saying it's vanishingly slim as an option. Now, one of the reasons for that is she takes her vows, her coronation vows, enormously seriously. This is, after all, a woman of considerable faith.
Great religious faith. She's a woman who seriously believes that this is, as we said, a job given to her by God. Only God can take it away. And for her, abdication, it simply wouldn't be possible. What we are seeing is her winding back some of the long-haul foreign travel. Last year, of course, she went to Germany and Malta, but the big long-haul trips, those are now for Prince Charles. And for the younger royals, we've just seen William and Catherine do this rather triumphant tour of India. But still, it is the Queen who meets the Prime Minister, the Queen who reads the red boxes. She does the day-to-day job, the day-to-day work of being the constitutional monarch, and that is the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. Simply, in her view, she is the one who is monarch, and it is her duty to do it. Even perhaps sometimes she might not feel like it. I'm sure there are some days in which the Queen feels exhausted and tired, like all of us do. But she has to be out there, she has to be smiling, she has to be over the moon to be doing whatever she does. And simply, I think that is what's been so impressive, these impeccable manners, great commitment to duty, hard work, and you could never tell if she ever wasn't interested. And that's a difficult thing, isn't it, almost, because she's set the bar so high for monarchy. It is quite hard to follow.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much written, hasn't there, Kate, in recent days, as people use the 90th birthday to really reflect on what her role has been, what her life means to us as subjects. What was the moment, you think, over the last 64 years of her long reign, longest reign, which have been closest to a point of crisis? Was it 92, Annus Horribilis, the marriages of her children falling to pieces? Was it 1997, the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, the catcalls from the media to show some feeling, ma'am, and all the rest of it? What was that moment?
Well, it's very striking, isn't it, when you listen to her talk about the Annus Horribilis 1992, how it seems certainly in her speech that she feels this is now over. 1992 was an awful year and it's now going to be finished, but it continued. There were many more discussions, many more debates, many more criticisms, and then, as you say, in 1997 there was the death of Diana. There was criticism of the Queen for not coming down from Balmoral. So I think the 1990s is not a time she would look back on as a time of great success. She also lost her mother, lost her sister not long afterwards. And I think that during this time, it was the time throughout British history when we saw the reputation of the monarchy take the plunge that it did. It's back up now, but then I think there were many more people who were either indifferent or actually actively against monarchy because they simply felt it didn't answer to them, it didn't represent what they were looking for. Things have changed now, and in 2012 it was absolutely different, but certainly I think in the 1990s it was a very difficult time for her all around.
She's seen so much change. I mean, this is a woman who is embracing technology to some degree. The early TV broadcast, the radio broadcast, first tweet in 2014. And yet I remember I've just bumped into a member of the old household who doesn't work for the royal family anymore, but I remember having a conversation with him more than 15 years ago. We were saying, in some respects the Queen circumvents the traditional media by sheer dint of the numbers of people that she sees. We were talking earlier with Alice Bruce about having to be seen to be believed. She is seen on any given year, certainly in her pomp, by hundreds of thousands of people. And those people, the people who are here today, they'll go home and say to friends and relations, I saw the Queen today. That personal contact, it's easy to dismiss it, isn't it? But actually, she's physically seen by an awful lot of people.
Yes, and they meet her, it impacts on their lives. People always talk about when they met the Queen, and there are varying estimates onto how many people she's met in her life, but we think maybe about 4 or 5 million. I mean, That's an astonishing amount. I don't think anyone in the world has met that many people, because of course celebrities, mega celebrities, they don't actually meet people, they're just kept at arm's length. And when we saw earlier, she was actually talking to some of those marvellous 90-year-olds in conversation. So she actually does take an interest in people, she discusses things with them, she talks to them, and it's something that is, on one hand, I think she feels it keeps her young. She's always talking to people, and she does see herself as representing her subject. So when you write to the Queen asking for help, I think children have written to her saying, I'd like to go to this school, not that school, she will reply, she will try and deal with it. Yes, they have. Little children saying, I want to go to this school, not that one. She does see herself as someone to her subjects can go to, and basically, if the Queen wasn't meeting people, she would feel herself as not doing her job, because she wants to know what her subjects think, not necessarily her advisors and the courtiers. She wants to know what the ordinary person thinks, and the only way to find that out is by meeting them.
Kate, for now, I'll say thanks very much indeed, Kate Williams, with some thoughts on the role the Queen occupies on this, her 90th birthday, which is chosen to celebrate here in Windsor. Of course, there's much more to come in May. Home Park in Windsor will be the setting for a 4-day-long pageant focused principally around equestrianism, and of course in June, when we get the official birthday, we get 3 days of celebrations focused on the Mall, Buckingham Palace, and all that goes with that. You can see some of the tourists leaving Windsor Castle today. The Queen said she